Hello and welcome to Wishing You Well. I'm your host, Maria. This is the podcast where we break down the latest health headlines and discuss the things we can do to keep ourselves healthy and strong. Today we're going to talk about something that affects every single one of us, often quietly, sometimes loudly, and that's inflammation. But more importantly, we're going to talk about how your body is always communicating with you, not working against you, but working for you. And what if, instead of silencing those messages that our body is trying to send, we learned how to truly listen? Let's start with, what is inflammation really? Inflammation often gets a bad reputation. We hear about it as something to eliminate, to reduce, and to fight. But here's the truth. Inflammation is not the enemy. It's the messenger. In its acute form, inflammation is actually protective of your body. For instance, if you cut your finger or twist your ankle or catch a virus, your body responds with inflammation to send healing and repair and defense. That redness, the swelling, the heat, that's your body doing its job. The issue arises when that inflammation becomes chronic, when your body stays in a prolonged state of high alert. This can show up in a variety of ways. You can have joint pain or stiffness, digestive discomfort, fatigue, brain fog, skin issues, or even autoimmune conditions. And here's where it becomes deeply important. Chronic inflammation often reflects an imbalance in how we're living, moving, eating, thinking, and feeling. So this is where I want you to lean in a little closer, because oftentimes the symptoms are silent. Our inflammation is whispering to us. Most inflammation doesn't show up dramatically. It's not always that swelling or obvious pain. Instead, it's quiet and subtle and therefore easy to dismiss. Like I said, it's almost like your body's whispering to you. And according to what we're seeing more and more, both in research and discussions from experts, these silent symptoms are often overlooked by us because they begin to feel normal. Your body is always speaking to you. It speaks in sensations, however, not in words. It whispers first. A little tightness in your neck, a sense of fatigue that's come on that you just brush off, digestive discomfort after eating certain foods, a feeling of being very irritable or easily irritated and overwhelmed. But if we ignore those whispers, they will become louder because it turns into more pain and goes from fatigue to exhaustion, and feeling a little off turns into an illness. It's not our body punishing us for ignoring it. It's just our body being persistent. Our body is incredibly wise. It's always asking, are you getting enough rest? Is this food nourishing me or depleting me? Is this stress that I'm under something that is sustainable? Do I feel safe physically and emotionally? The challenge is that we've been conditioned to override all of these signals that our body is sending. We've trained ourselves to push through, to stay productive, to ignore the pain and the discomfort, to numb ourselves out. But that's not where the healing comes in. The healing begins when we shift from ignoring the symptoms to listening to them. So let me walk you through some of the most common symptoms. First up, fatigue that doesn't make any sense. You wake up exhausted, even after a full night's sleep. This is one of the most common signs of inflammation because it means that your immune system is working overtime in the background. Second, brain fog. You forget words. You lose your train of thought. or you just don't feel mentally sharp anymore. This can be linked to inflammation affecting the brain. Number 3, digestive discomfort, bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea. Your gut is one of the first places where inflammation shows up in the body. Number 4, mood changes, irritability, anxiety, feeling low. Inflammation doesn't just affect the body, it affects our entire emotional landscape as well. Number 5, joint stiffness or mild aches throughout the body, especially in the morning, and particularly when you don't have a clear injury. That subtle stiffness in your body, that's your body communicating with you. Number 6, skin flare-ups, acne, rashes, eczema. Your skin is outwardly a reflection of what's going on internally. And those internal imbalances will show up on our largest external organ, the skin. Number 7, stubborn belly fat or weight changes, especially around the midsection. This can both signal and drive the body's inflammation. And lastly, number 8, getting sick more often. Frequent colds accompanied by slow recovery. This may mean that your immune system is overwhelmed. So here's the key, because each one of the 8 that I just mentioned, if you take them individually, they're symptoms that are easy to brush off. You might have said to yourself, oh, I'm just tired, or oh, I'm just getting older, or oh, it's just stress. But your body doesn't speak in isolated events. It speaks to you in patterns. And when you begin to start connecting those dots, you will start hearing the message more clearly. So why do we miss the signs? Why do we ignore these signals? I think it's because they just don't feel very urgent. Inflammation, especially silent inflammation, builds up slowly over time, often from things like stress, poor sleep, eating processed foods rather than whole foods, and a lack of overall movement. It's like a low burning fire in the body. There's not enough to set off the alarms right away, but enough to quietly create that imbalance. And over time, this silent fire has been linked to conditions like heart disease and diabetes and autoimmune issues. This is exactly what happened to me over a dozen years ago when my thyroid disease presented itself. Started off as all of those silent whispers from my body until I was in full-blown autoimmune disease. So here's the empowering part. This was empowering for me, and I hope it will be for you too. If it builds slowly, it means it can also be reversed gently. Let's get to the root, because that's exactly what I had to do to heal myself, to get to the root causes of chronic inflammation. We're going to gently explore some of the common contributors to chronic inflammation. And this is a way to make ourselves not feel judgy, but just become more aware. First up, chronic stress. When we live in a constant state of stress, our body produces stress hormones like cortisol pretty much round the clock. And over time, that's going to dysregulate your immune system and fuel the body's inflammation. Number 2, poor sleep. Sleep is when the body repairs. Without it, your inflammation is going to rise. Number 3, we go for those quick, easy, processed foods. Well, guess what? Those processed foods are highly inflammatory. They have excess sugar and unhealthy fats and oils that are very bad for the body, and those become a perfect storm for triggering our body's inflammatory responses. Number 4 is interesting because both a lack of movement and overtraining can be problematic. Too little movement is going to stagnate your energy. Too much intense exercise without recovery will put undue added stress on your body. Number 5, emotional suppression. When we have emotions that are unprocessed, like grief and anger and fear, they don't just disappear. They live in the body. You've heard me say this before. Those issues, those emotions, if they're undealt with, will end up becoming the issues that live in our tissues. Number 6, I've dedicated an entire podcast or two on this one. Toxins. From air quality to the products that we use, both in our homes and on our bodies, they can subtly contribute to inflammation over time. So that's something to really take a close look at, is what your body is taking in on a regular basis in terms of its toxic load. So how do we actually begin to listen to our body's wisdom? We're going to want to pause every day, even just 2 to 5 minutes a day. This could be when you're meditating. This could be when you're doing your deep breathing, when you first wake up in the morning, when you're doing your stretches. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now, physically and emotionally? We want to get into a regular habit of doing body scanning. That's not saddling up next to an MRI machine. It means just observing. Notice the areas in your body where you have tension, pain, discomfort. You're going to want to track patterns and pay particular attention to certain things. For instance, how you feel after certain meals. I have lost track of how many clients of mine have told me that after they eat a specific food, they feel awful, and yet they keep eating it. Pay attention to your energy levels throughout the day. Pay attention to the quality of your sleep. And pay particular attention to the things that trigger you emotionally. Your body is going to be incredibly consistent in its reaction if we're paying attention. If your body feels inflamed or tired, painful, instead of thinking, what's wrong with me? Try asking your body, what is it asking for? What is my body asking me for? I recommend in almost every episode to incorporate gentle movement into your life. Gentle movement practices like Qi Gong, stretching, mindful movement, they can really help reduce inflammation because they're going to help improve your circulation, boost your immune system, calm your nervous system, and help you to reconnect to your body, because gentle movement practices are not you pushing yourself to an extreme, but partnering with yourself, particularly on a mind-body level. If you start asking yourself, when did I first notice this fatigue or this digestive disruption? What patterns do I see with my digestion? When do I feel most clear? When do I feel most foggy? The more aware we can become, the more we're going to be inviting healing to begin. The experts beautifully reframe this whole topic for us because they often remind us that the body whispers before it shouts. So instead of waiting for the body to scream, we want to learn to listen to the whispers. We want to reframe our relationship with our body. Imagine if you saw your body not as something to control, but as something to collaborate with. Instead of thinking my body is betraying me, what if you said my body's protecting me? Instead of saying I need to fix this quickly, what if you said to yourself, I'm willing to take a close look at this and understand this more deeply? Healing doesn't come from force or powering through. It comes from slowly, through listening and responding and honoring what you hear, building a relationship. Ask yourself, What does my body need from me today? Don't rush the answer. Inflammation is not just something to reduce, it's something to understand. Your body is not the problem, your body is the guide. The more you listen, the more clearly your body will speak to you. Thank you so much for being here with me today, spending time on what I believe is an incredibly important topic. I hope that you'll take just one small step today towards listening more closely to your body. And until next time, I'm Maria, and as always, I am wishing you well.